Speak. Dear Fourth Estate, I write to you today because our nation is in turmoil. Our freedom to speak is an essential right necessary for maintaining a free and just nation, and it is being stripped away from us. Progression into the information age was pioneered by American innovation, and it freed us from the limitations inherent in physical meeting spaces and tangible print media. American values were foundational to the creation of the internet, the very nature of which cries out to more perfectly realize what it means to freely communicate. Our public squares are now digital, allowing ideas to be exchanged, refined, and challenged with unprecedented speed and over any measure of distance. The exposure to new ideas and knowledge has the power to bring people together in unity. This potential has been degraded by digital media companies like Google and Facebook, who conspire to censor ideas and knowledge that they disagree with. Worse, the deplatforming, banning, deranking, and intimidation of political rivals, both online and off, have been cheered and encouraged by you, the Fourth Estate. Suppressing ideas never has the intended consequence of defeating them. Rather, its adherents are left alienated from society and are forced to seek refuge in the shadows, where their ideas are not challenged and their radicalization festers. This is tearing us apart. The freedom to speak without restriction is not a right the Founding Fathers created when they authored the First Amendment. They recognized it as something that pre-existed them, and that it was not a thing that could be given or taken by any government. Their enlightenment allowed them to recognize that humans have the unique capacity for intellect, and that speech, being the primary way that we express our intellect, was not something that should be limited in any way. Intellect is something fundamentally human, and attempting to restrain it is fundamentally anti-human. The freedom to speak without limitations drives open discussion of the problems we face and defines the possible solutions we might enact. Only without arbitrary restrictions can corruption be exposed and the truth be revealed. The notion that some ideas are too dangerous to discuss and that society should be sheltered from them will only result in a weaker culture that is more vulnerable to them. Only through exposure will the American people be able to gain the experience necessary to recognize why these ideas are harmful and develop the rhetorical skills needed to properly argue against them. You, the Fourth Estate, have actively attacked the foundational principles of free speech on multiple occasions. You have abetted the terrorist organization, Antifa, in their efforts to violently silence American citizens on the streets and in our institutions of higher learning. You have provided cover for big tech's targeted suppression of political adversaries, calling their political bias a conspiracy theory, even after hard evidence was made public. You have engaged in the character assassination of your subjects on multiple occasions, releasing personal details alongside attributions of old, out of context, and sometimes even false statements, knowing that outrage mobs would form to destroy their livelihoods and reputations. You use these intimidation tactics to instill fear in those that might use their freedom of speech to say something you disagree with. The Washington Post did this when they made the Covington Catholic kids an example of what happens to people expressing support for a president the establishment media does not support. CNN did this when they blackmailed a cultural artist into apologizing for mocking them, threatening to make his identity public if he ever expressed something they did not like again. These direct, coercive actions against individual American citizens is unacceptable. The once noble profession of journalism has been forever stained by your shameless political partisanship. Aggressive censorship and blatant disdain for free-thinking individuals has become emblematic of the Fourth Estate. You have turned your back on the First Amendment from which your profession derives its free existence. You arrogantly maintain a cognitive dissonance, believing simultaneously that the rights of the free press should never be curtailed, while at the same time believing that people you disagree with should be silenced. You have advocated for legal consequences against those that oppose you, labeling their dissent as anti-American, and have encouraged corporate censorship of the digital public square. Your disreputable contributions to cancel culture have included publishing hit pieces and baseless smears backed by hearsay and bad faith speculation. You attack the character of your political opponents by attributing false motivations for their actions as a way of distracting and blinding the American people from the actual ideas being discussed. These tactics are a destructive cancer on our society. While you, the Fourth Estate, America's free press, are protected under the same amendment that freedom of speech is, you are not the government, and you are under no obligation to enforce the Constitution. It is even within your rights under the First Amendment to speak out against it. However, this is short-sighted. You ought not destroy the fabric from which you were cut. Rather, you, the Fourth Estate, have an ethical imperative to protect, defend, and advocate for it, a responsibility that you owe to yourselves, to the American people, and to our posterity. As journalists, it is your telos, your highest purpose, to present the unbiased facts and realities of all points of view. It is not your responsibility to tell the American people what to think. Rather, it is to properly inform them so that they can think for themselves. To do this, you must present both sides of the debate across all the major issues of our day. This especially includes the sides you consider harmful. The cure for bad ideas is more speech, not less. Only by shining a light can you defeat the darkness. Most of all, you must be brave and trust that the American people are capable of navigating an open marketplace of ideas on their own, and that they will come to the correct conclusions without you rigging the scales. The only alternative to this individual freedom to choose is to select a tyrant to arbitrarily choose for us. While you may feel comfortable that you would come out on the winning side of this today, it would only be a matter of time before the tyranny you create sets its sights on you. This must not be. I implore the Fourth Estate to reverse course. Stop the smear campaigns. Stop supporting social media censorship. Stop making yourselves a part of your stories by using your power to destroy the lives of the individuals you disagree with. Stop using your position to propagandize the public against ideas and policies you disagree with. You need to refocus to reporting the unbiased truth and fairly representing the differing opinions involved. You must recommit to upholding the principles of free speech for all, not just for yourselves. You must stop openly advocating for the violent resistance and tyrannical deplatforming of speech you are opposed to. If our country is to be freer, safer, and fairer, it will require you, the Fourth Estate, to defend the enlightened principles of liberty found in the First Amendment. Until this happens, our nation will remain polarized. Only if you change your ways can we hope to retain the right to freely speak. Very respectfully, a concerned patriot.
This is the second of the Patriot letters being sent to the members of the media and our government leaders. If you agree with this message, I encourage you to share this with your representatives in government and members of the media. Join your voices with ours and be heard. Direwolf out.